Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Somos Mas, the official podcast of Somos Mas NM, and your source for the latest news and notes on New Mexico United and the New Mexico Runners. My name, of course, is Seth Bidoff. Joining me this evening, Earl Nieto, who is still a happy camper. Earl, did nothing change from last week? Still a happy camper? Everything's going well?
It's a funny story. StreamYard didn't let me change my little caption there, so I was kind of stuck with it. Like, he didn't even give me the option to change it. So I'm like, cool, that's what it's gonna be today. Whatever.
Interesting. Okay, well, let's see. Edit name and headline.
I'm worried.
Not a happy camper.
I'll take it.
So Earl, what changed? Why aren't you a happy camper?
I mean, I don't know. It's been a week, that's for sure. From Saturday, watching United, and then Saturday watching the Runners end their season on a 8-6 loss, I believe it was, to the Wichita Wings. Which, okay, we expected it, which was bittersweet because we also got to hear our good friend Andres do commentary and play-by-play. So that was interesting to watch. To going back to work on a Monday, I mean, and then we were in Ruidoso all weekend, so it's kind of been a lot this week.
I get it. Obviously, always going back to work is going to be a rough spot in the weekend. And yeah, coming off of the result that United had and the result by the Runners, I don't know how much of that you got to watch, but I popped in there and I saw a friend of mine refereeing that match. Charlie Delgadillo was one of the referees, and I obviously he didn't see it. I'm sure Andres didn't see it in the chat as well, but said, tell Charlie to call it our way. Charlie is a local guy. He does ASL. He does or at least he was the referee assigner down at Kramer Fields, and he does professional soccer as well. He's worked USL matches. He does MASL too. I believe he does MASL. He also does a lot of developmental league stuff. So it was good to see Charlie out there getting some action with the MASL and the Runners. So
so I watched a little bit here and there. Marlena's cousin had a birthday party, so we were inundated with that back and forth. So I was watching the soccer game on my phone, watching United on my phone, and then watching the Runners on my phone. Following basketball religiously that weekend because the Lobos actually
are going dancing.
And then immediately the next morning I set up a tournament cast with us, a bracket cast for us. So maybe one day we'll touch on that, and maybe after round one, see how our brackets are all jacked up.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. Obviously, your round one gets underway tomorrow with the play-in games and everything else. Did you set your bracket yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was just, obviously you can't see each other's brackets until the tournament starts. So I know I got mine in today.
I think I was waiting on the 2 games.
Okay. Yeah, get your bracket done. So, yeah, well, we can probably touch on that next week. See where we're at after. By that point, the first 2 rounds will be done. So we'll see where things are at, and then we got so much to talk about. I mean, it's a busy time of the year. We've got New Mexico United. We've got Open Cup, which we haven't talked about yet, and is on our agenda this evening. Speaking of Open Cup, if you have not tuned in yet this evening, all across YouTube and over on US Soccer on their website, you can actually tune into every single Open Cup opening round matches this evening. All of the matches are in the books so far, with the exception of Austin FC 2 taking on Foro SC, and then Timbers 2 versus El Farolito, which kicks off in about 23 minutes. A lot of, like I said, results are already coming in. We've got Miami United picking up an upset win over Chattanooga. You have Ford Madison shutting out Duluth 2-0. Vermont Green FC picking up a 4-3 win in a shootout over Lexington SC. That was a fun one to watch. I watched a lot of that one. The Savannah Clovers FC pick up a win over Brave SC, who was formerly Florida. They were formerly known as Florida Soccer Soldiers, I think. I could be wrong. I'd have to double check that. And then Maryland Bobcats with a 2-0 win over Westchester United. And South Georgia Tormenta taking on FC America. And they pick up a 1-0 win today. Hi, Jane. How are you? Glad to have you with us. We're going over some Open Cup, and there was some other lower league news that kind of hit the wires earlier this week and on into the opening round of the Open Cup that I want us to touch on, Earl. The first bit of this was that late last week, over the weekend, NISA announced that they were going to delay their season by 2 weeks due to some issues with their 4 newest clubs: Arizona Monsoon FC, Capo FC, Georgia Lions SC, and Irvine Zeta FC. Now, coming into this, there were some concerns about the financial stability of these teams and that these teams had not been fully vetted by the league and USF. So NISA pushed back the start of their league to make sure part of the start of the league season to make sure this happens. And as a result of this, Georgia Lions SC was scheduled to kick off their Open Cup run this week against Apotheos FC, but ended up forfeiting their open round matchup, which is only the second time that has happened in Open Cup. So, Earl, Open Cup obviously is a magical time of the year for lower league soccer fans, especially because you get to see our clubs face off against other lower leagues. You get to see them, you potentially go up and face MLS clubs. Looking at this news from NISA and what happened with Georgia Lions SC, how bad of a look is this? Number one, for NISA, the fact that they can't seem to vet clubs appropriately, and two, does this have any additional effect on the Open Cup after the change in format this year due to MLS?
So we'll break it down. The first question about NISA. I mean, NISA already has a terrible look. There was some news that came out a couple years back that just put a terrible, terrible light on them. So NISA just in general is just a struggling animosity of themselves. So I mean, how much bad of a look does it make them? I mean, they're already there. I mean, you can't paint shit white and make it look pretty.
That's very true.
It's still gonna stink. It's kind of it's a downfall because a lot of those NISA players are really, really good. And they're kind of just stuck under the thumb of piss poor management. And I'm not talking bad about club management. I'm talking about NISA management as a general. As a whole. So, I mean, NISA just in general is a terrible, terrible area to be in. And that's just where it's at. I mean, like I said, you can't paint shit white and make it look pretty. And then to touch on how bad does it make the Open Cup look? I mean, the Open Cup, we all know my opinion on the Open Cup. I hate the Open Cup. It's where it's unnecessary wear and tear on players. It's unnecessary travel on the players, especially for teams who are in the hunt, who are perennial contenders for championship. I mean, right now you look at USL and you have your teams who are championship caliber teams. And then you take that and you throw them into a USL match into an Open Cup match where they have to play a Sunday, Tuesday, Friday match. I mean, it's not fair for them it's not fair for players in general who are not making much anyways as it is. We all remember the league and the CBAs that were going on and all the arguments that were happening. So for that, I mean, what's the risk versus reward? I mean, yeah, you have the chance to win a trophy, but a trophy this season, an Open Cup trophy this season, kind of has an asterisk. Because you know as well as I do that those MLS teams that are being forced to play against their will because they have so many different inner season tournaments as well, that now you're throwing in another tournament for them to compete in. You know as well as I do, and you could bet anyone's bottom dollar that they're going to call up their two teams and have those 2-team players play. We're not going to see the likes of a Messi or Suarez or Mukhtar or anyone of that nature, big name MLS. You're not going to see those because that's what the Open Cup is. In my opinion, it's a trial academy for lower level aspiring stars who are signed to a MLS team already, such as like Timbers 2 or next pro teams that are going to get the call up.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we're not going to see Messi in the Open Cup this year anyway, because there are only 8 MLS teams participating: Atlanta United, FC Dallas, Houston Dynamo, Los Angeles FC, Real Salt Lake, San Jose, Seattle Sounders, and Sporting Kansas City. So those are the only 8 MLS teams, which has forced a change in format this year. And I do agree with you too, when it comes to Georgia Lions, that them forfeiting their match does not necessarily make the Open Cup itself look any worse. Again, I think it, like you said, it plays into the management or mismanagement of NISA and their teams. I mean, they have had a lot of turnover year over year in terms of the teams that participate in that league, and to come into a season with basically half of the clubs participating still not being vetted properly. I mean, this all just looks bad on the league. And you have to wonder about the ownership. I know you said it's not on the ownership, but for these 4 clubs, it is about the ownership. And the fact that, number one, are they financially viable or not? Because if they're not financially viable, do you even want them? And NISA, if you're NISA management. To me, if I've got a club that I'm trying to vet and I have concerns about their finances, and then you have a look like this where the league is forced to delay the start of their season, and then to have a club immediately drop out of the premier tournament, the premier national tournament, I should say, within U.S. soccer, that's where the issues lie. And I think a lot of it comes down to the lack of oversight and ability by U.S. soccer to properly properly vet teams and ensure that some of these leagues are actually viable. And I think that's where the issues lie. And then again, looking at Open Cup, I mean, right now you talk about, I don't even know that, I know you've got your problems, but this is, we've talked about before, this is the equivalent of the FA Cup. It really is. That's what this is. This is this is our equivalent of the FA Cup, and to have teams not participating, I think, is a travesty. But yeah,
and I get that. I understand it. It is a travesty because you said it. I mean, the Open Cup is one of the longest annual competitions without counting the COVID years, which I think those are exceptions at this point. It's the longest running tournament in U.S. soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, so I get it. I understand 100% why it's important, but at the same time, you have to understand for MLS teams, especially, dare I say it, lower level MLS teams, less monetary valued MLS teams, not the Inter Miamis who can sell you a freaking kitchen sink and wind up with freaking Luis Suarez. But I'm talking teams like Sporting Kansas City or Austin FC, the teams that don't really have the money. How do you expect them to compete in the Nations League that they have, or whatever the Leagues Cup, whatever the fuck they call it nowadays?
Leagues Cup,
the Open Cup, and I think they have their own other little tournament bubble that they have going on. They have like 3 or 4, and then if they qualify for CONCACAF, then that's a 4th tournament that they're in. So I mean, it's crazy because for example, Atlanta United, they won the Open Cup 2019.
Mm-hmm.
If this were 2019 and all these other tournaments were around, I mean, you have Atlanta United playing in CONCACAF because they automatically qualify. Then they'd be playing in the Leagues Cup. then they'd be playing in Open Cup, then they're playing their regular season. That's 4 tournaments that they're playing in. I mean, it's not fair. I mean, granted, Atlanta United has money to dish out. And I'm not saying screw tradition. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying I don't agree with Open Cup at all. I don't, because it's become essentially a joke, because I'm willing to bet my paycheck that we're not going to see the big names of Atlanta United. I don't even know who's on Atlanta United because I'm a Nashville fan, so fuck Five Stripes. But my point is, for lower level teams that are barely making it as it is, how do you expect them to compete in another tournament as they're barely scraping by as it is?
Well, part of that problem is that some of their problems are of their own making, right? MLS didn't have to do the partnership with Liga MX. They didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do their in-season tournament. They didn't have to change the playoff format. I hate the playoff format now for MLS, but some of it is of MLS's own doing. And so they have to take the blame for that. And you look at, Open Cup, I've got the Austin FC 2 4 SC matchup right now. And 4 SC from UPSL was up 1-0 until the 52nd minute, where Austin scored to equalize. Great goal off a free kick, by the way. Might have gone down as an own goal, about 100% sure. But you see magical things happen in the Open Cup. And yes, is there additional wear and tear? Yes, is there opportunities for younger players to step up? But the Open Cup is something that matters. It matters because the winner still gets a spot in CONCACAF. It still matters because there is some amount of prize money, which I do think needs to be increased. And I do think that the MLS
for
teams
example,
need to take this.
For example, I pulled up the Atlanta United roster, which is like hurting my soul at this point. It's like straight killing me at this. So you're not going to see the likes of Almada or Dax McCarty or Mosquera or Sosa, you go down the list, and you're not going to see big names to play it. And Mudef, thanks for coming back again. I think this is your second week in a row. I agree with you 100%. Fuck the MLS. I have to say it like that because I have a kid listening. Why create the dumbass Leagues Cup that no one cares about and then complain about scheduling congestion? It's their own bed that they can lay in. 100% understand that. Harry, go to sleep. I get why they did it, because it's a money league. I mean, it's a $200 million entry fee to even apply to become MLS. It's a money-based league, so I get why they did it. It just sucks because us lower level teams like New Mexico United and Sacramento and San Antonio and all these lower level teams that are vying to play in the Open Cup, essentially going to have an asterisk in the eyes of any MLS fan because you didn't play the top players in the league. I mean, at least when we played Minnesota, we played some of their stars.
Well, yeah, because we made it to what was it? It was the quarterfinals. So, at that point, you're gonna see the MLS, the first teams, and with with MLS now entering in around the 32, you're gonna see these teams put out, and yes, they're not gonna be facing each other. They're gonna be facing championship teams or lower, but you're not going to have to wait long, if at all, to see these guys with their first teams, because they know a CONCACAF Champions League spot is on the line. And we've seen plenty of cup sets over the past several years, past several iterations, I should say, where these MLS teams are coming in and they're losing by not taking it seriously. So it's just, I think it's a shame. And I can't wait to see what happens the rest of this tournament. Obviously, we're still very, very early in the Open Cup, and the Mexico United won't enter until the third round. So we've got about a month still until we get our first action in the U.S. Open, or the Open Cup, I should say. So we're looking forward to that. But I mean, all that being said, and talk of in-season tournaments, a new tournament has been announced, this time by the USL and USL League One, who this week announced the formation of the USL League One Jägermeister Cup. A multi-year sponsorship deal was announced by the USL to produce a in-season tournament for USL League One only. The format of which is going to be is going to mimic the World Cup. So they're going to have a group stage. They're going to have knockout rounds. Earl, do you hate this one as much as the others?
I don't know.
I mean,
know.
is it really that bad? Because it's again more eyes on a lower league. It's the USL getting their name out. Jägermeister is not a small brand, and this is something we've talked about with Open Cup. Does Open Cup need sponsorship to help increase visibility and the prize pool? Because again, and this tournament here is going to be broadcast every single match on ESPN Plus.
But why? Like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, it's USL League One, so take it as you is. I mean, take it as you want. I'd
be curious to get Harry's take on this one.
I'm at a loss for words because I really don't know. I mean, I'm trying to read up on it real quick, and the caption that the head caption that it says is USL League One Cups will battle for a shot at glory during new and exciting in-season cup competition kicking off April 27th. But like, what do they win? A trophy? Like,
so here we go. This is going to be the USL Leagues Cup, but USLC opted out this year. Okay, I hadn't seen that report anywhere, so appreciate that, Harry. But yeah, I mean, this could be interesting because you look at some of the talent in USL. You see the talent, particularly coming out of clubs like South Georgia Tormenta or Richmond or Greenville. Like, there's a ton of talent coming out of USL League One. This could be interesting, especially if the league does this right. If they keep the group stage format, if they, because could you imagine? If you look at the standings, how they are right now in USL Championship, you've got, bottom four in the East: Tampa, Rhode Island, North Carolina, Pittsburgh. Bottom four in the West: El Paso, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Colorado. Imagine like North Carolina FC or like Tampa Bay in a group with two teams that historically do well: South Georgia Tormenta and Greenville. Could you imagine them being knocked out of a cup tournament? Like, that to me is a bit exciting.
I don't know. I'm excited. You know what? I'm excited about it, and here's why. How often? I mean, I'm sure you probably do all the time, but how often does anyone watch League One?
I watch quite a bit. I'm sure. I know Harry watches a bit, and there are some folks that do.
But like the average fans of just USL, I mean, they're not going to tune into League One unless they're from a hometown team that they have, which there's quite actually a few. So can we? I'm missing out, David. So I'm about to make my prediction on who's going to win this Jägermeister Cup.
You're going to predict right now without seeing any USL League One action this year.
Now.
Okay.
Right now. Spokane Velocity.
Really? Okay. Spokane Velocity, one of the newer clubs in the USL League One.
Yeah, I'll go Velocity. I'm sure you're
Okay.
going with South Georgia Tormenta, so
Oh,
which
I
that's a
got
good
to.
shout to our that's a good shout to our boy Ford Parker out there, but
Yep. Yeah. South
Spokane
Georgia tournament.
Velocity.
Jägermeister with New Mexico United U23s. That would be cool if they did. That would be very cool if they did. So, yeah. I mean, you look at the at the USL League One level, Lexington, Greenville, one Knoxville, Union Omaha, Central Valley Fuego, Spokane, Ford Madison, who won. We talked about them earlier. They won their Open Cup match earlier. Colorado Hailstorm won their match as well. South Georgia Tormenta won their match. Charlotte Independence, Richmond Kickers, Chattanooga. There's a lot of talent down in League One. I think it'd be very cool to see. Oh, look, what is this? An X comment. That is new. Wow. They must have added new integration because that was not there last week. That's very cool to see. That is very cool. Vermont USL one confirmed after that game. Hey, that'd be pretty cool as well. I mean, it's always cool to see the USL growing, and I think this is exciting. I think Jägermeister Cup is going to be a big deal. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think, to Harry's point, it's going to be become the League Cup for USL. We're going to get to see some more teams that we haven't typically seen. And that to me is exciting as well. So I think there's a lot to look forward to. Earl's picking, Spokane. Yeah, I think South Georgia Tormenta can do it. Our boy Ford, we obviously have a lot of ties. I have ties to Statesboro. New Mexico United has ties to South Georgia Tormenta. So it'd be really, really cool to see. Harry, where did you hear that? Yeah, that would be really cool. Maybe we're getting some breaking news here, but I mean, yeah, all that being said, like we're still very, very early in Open Cup, very early in USL Championship, League One season, a lot of action throughout the rest of the season. And, while we would like to look forward to everything else that's coming up, I mean, obviously we need to look back just a little bit to this past Saturday where New Mexico United went up to Rhode Island and took on the brand new Rhode Island FC. If you weren't with us last week, we had a chance to talk to Matt Intrican of Raising Anchor podcast. If you didn't listen to that, go check it out. Go check out their show as well. They talked to our very own Jacob Terrell on the latest episode of Raising Anchor last week. So go check those out. Give those guys some love. And New Mexico United went up, and what was honestly a very, very tough match for United. Rhode Island came out. They pressed pretty much the entire game, and they stole some points at the death. And both sides walked away with one in a 1-1 draw up in Rhode Island. I mean, Earl, watching this game pillar to post, what was the first thing that stood out to you? And number one, so 2 parts. One, what was the biggest thing that stood out to you from Rhode Island FC, and what was the biggest thing that stood out to you from New Mexico United?
So, I mean, the biggest thing that stood out to me about Rhode Island is they're good. They're good. They're very talented, and once they get some timing under their belt and get some more gelling put together, they're going to be dangerous. A lot of their switch play from back corner of the pitch to the front attacking corner was there. Very quick on the ball, very fast. This one is like vomit coming out of my mouth at this point, but Tambakis came up with some incredible stops, especially at the end where he had that double save to keep it 1-1.
It was still 1-0 at that point.
Was it still 1-0?
It was 1-0 at that point, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was 1-0. I'm trying to remember. I rewatched it today at work, so but I mean, they're good. So my recap of it, just real quick. Both teams defensively did not want to give up anything. I mean, it was pulling teeth out of a newborn baby at that point. Rhode Island loves to shoot the ball. That's a given. They are hungry to shoot and hungry to catch you off guard and hungry to get the ball off of their foot for sure. But let's talk about Talon Maples. How about that? Getting kind of squeaked in, landing on his foot, right place, right time
Mhm.
type thing. But I'll take a goal any game. I mean, it can come off my freaking pinky, and I'm gonna be happy with it. Um, Harry won't, obviously, and he'll. um, Harry won't like the whole pinky reference because he's still sour about bees. Um, but I mean, Talon showed that he can be a staple on that back line. He can fill in when we need to, and like I said, I think first week, it's nice because now we can actually give Kalen a break in case he does get injured like he did or pick up a knock like he did and he's not able to go. We have Talon who can fill in and take care of that. Um, Rhode Island got comfortable in the first half, and once they did that, they showed that once they get comfortable, they get good. Um, my opinion though is United needs to shoot a shit ton more. I mean, I get it. They're trying to find the open spot and take smart shots. I get it 100%. But when you're outshot, I think 19-9 or 16-9 or something like that, it's a question as to where the offensive firepower is coming from. But I mean, that's no knock or no hard feeling towards United. I mean, I still have 100% faith in United to score. And this game was a weird one because yeah, like I said, Rhode Island is good. I still think United is better. I mean, my prediction was 2-0. I got the 2 goals part right, just not there. Um, but the thing about this Rhode Island match was it's their first match ever. I remember our first match ever. The buzz was there, the hype was there, and the energy was there. Um, and the players obviously want to show out for the fans, and that's exactly what they did. I mean, you saw it right there. That's one of my examples of them wanting to fire the ball. That right there was trying to get the crowd hyped up. Um, and then second half, both teams kind of calmed down, got comfortable, and it became a more tight game, a more physical game. Um, and David, so we'll start out with Mudet first. Shout out to Talon. Was strange to not see Kalen out there. Thought it was an okay start to the road trip. I agree. It was very strange not to see Kalen out there. But we got the guy that sounds like Kalen, but with a T. So we'll take that. And then David, really excited to see what they got going on in Rhode Island. They'll be a playoff team in the East this year. I called them number 2 in the East. I think Jacob had them number 2 as well. Jacob or Harry did for sure. But I have them. I'm same boat as you. They will be definitely a playoff team. They might even make it to the finals. I'd be willing to bet that. And then obviously on a turf, I mean, turf matches suck. The way the ball bounces, I don't like turf fields, turf pitches at all. So I mean, playing on turf against a really, really good team, defensively stout team who has a incredible back line, I'll take a 1-1 draw any day of the week.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with walking away from a point on the road, but you look at the way this match played out, and as we have the highlights running over here, I have to think that New Mexico and Coach Quill and the rest of the team feel very fortunate to walk out of this with a point. Because you look at the way this match played out, Rhode Island went off the woodwork 3 times in this match. We very easily could have been down 2-0 before halftime, very easily. And you saw the play there, and we'll back up the highlight here just a little bit. Let me make sure I have the right clip here. So yes, this one right here. This I think it's was it this one here? No, sorry, it's this one here. So you've got Dayon Harris in space. Yeah, Jacobo Reyes plays the ball over, and Dayon takes the touch, and it's just too much. It allows Rhode Island to get back into a defensive posture, and the he should honestly I think he should just one time that ball and Matt over there call the tie. Your fans are great. Y'all like I absolutely agree with that. We absolutely did. He had a great job clogging at the middle. Had third most tackles won in history of USL in the history of the USLC in this match. If they do it consistently, they'll win most matches. Yes, and that was a comment that I had made over in the New Mexico United subreddit Discord, if you want to call it that, during the matches, that we did not necessarily play well through the midfield. Rhode Island did a fantastic job of clogging up the midfield, of controlling the pace, and then just the amount of pressure that they put on our players throughout the entire first half. And even here, you see the number of people they had in the box on the set piece leading up to the goal from Talon. I mean, Rhode Island played a really good match on Saturday. Into the first half, I think it was like 12 shots to 5 or 12 shots to 4. I can't remember because the USL Championship stats were not working properly during the match, or on the website. But yeah, I mean, it's 6 of the Rhode Island level already look good expansion sides, but will Neville hit a rough patch? Maybe. And that is a valid question. It's something, if you want to find out, go listen to Raising Anchor. They, like I said, they cover Rhode Island FC in far greater detail than we will, and they'll probably have all that coverage for you. But yeah, I mean, every club
See,
hits that
but
rough
I'm
patch.
gonna touch on that comment. I'm kind of sick of the Rhode Island love already. It's been 1 week of them. You've seen one match of them. How can you honestly be sick of them? I mean, if I'm glad they're not in the West. That's what I could say. I'm 100% glad they're not in the West because that'd suck. You know who I am glad is in the West?
Who's that?
El Paso.
Yes, winless El Paso so far. Yes, happy that they're in the West. But we all know how El Paso may end up because they did the same thing last year. So they started the season winless and came on pretty strong towards the end. But yeah, I mean, this was a tough match. And, towards the end of the night, Alex had a number of fantastic saves, really what was really working for that clean sheet. And then here at the end, it's hard to tell from the clip, but it was eventually deemed an own goal against Chris Gloucester here at the end to give up the equalizer. Okay, maybe you're there. You go. You were right. It was after the 1-1. I thought it was the 1-0, but because he made some great saves before that too. Alex had a tremendous night. All right, so Earl, let's take a look at this. We do have just a little while left before we have to go and preview Charleston Battery next weekend. What was one positive takeaway from this match from either side?
So I'll start with both. Well, I'll start with Rhode Island. The positive for Rhode Island is they have some talent on the ball. They look tough, like Mudef says, and they're persistent. They don't back down even when they went down 1-0. They were still digging, and even when they went 1-1 in the 92nd minute, they were still looking for that winning goal. Yes, I am shocked that the first yellow came in the 61st minute for sure. Especially how tight we were playing and back and forth. But that's my one positive for Rhode Island is they're tough and persistent. My one positive for United is we have defensive depth. That's my one positive because I mean, there's a lot more that I can do, but if I were to pick just one, it's that we have defensive depth. I mean, Kalen went down with a knock, didn't even make the 18. So Talon stepped in, and Talon played a hell of a game. I mean, obviously he has the lone goal for United this week. So that's my takeaway for United is that we have depth, but I do want to mention one thing. And David, this is no slight at the club whatsoever, or at the play style of the club whatsoever. it appeared to me like United did not want to find that winning goal at the end of the match. I mean, you saw Alex, I think it was like 93rd minute, maybe. He let the ball roll all the way to the back line, to the touch line, um, and then get the ball and then take his time to pick up the ball. And it seemed to me like there wasn't any rush to try to score a winning goal. And that's just what I saw this morning as I was watching. I could be totally wrong. We all know I've been wrong before. But that's just how I took it. Was they were content with taking that draw, which at this point I'm content with taking a draw against a really good Rhode Island team at home.
I think to that point there, I would have to disagree somewhat. You look at the run of play, particularly that you're going from like the 75th to the 90th. I mean, it's not like United wasn't pressing for a second goal.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that. I'm saying during stoppage time, that's kind of what we say. You know what? Let's take it. Let's take the one and let's walk away.
I mean, with how much pressure and how good Rhode Island was there in particularly towards the end of the second half and getting forward, I can see not wanting to overextend and make a mistake and give up that second goal on the road. And to be fair, we probably should have been down 3-1 at this point, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's just what I saw. And like I said, it's not a knock at the club or the play style, but they were definitely content with taking the one and going home, taking their cake and eating it, because I don't blame them whatsoever. It was a tough, hard-fought match, and Rhode Island showed that they can definitely run in this league.
Yeah, they can. I want to address the question here about the comment about the refs as well. I mean, yeah, the ref was really good. I thought the ref did a really good job. And if you listen to the podcast at all in the past, you know that there have definitely been some matches where we've questioned where the referee was actually looking. But to be fair to the point about United going down, I mean, that's something you're going to see in every match, no matter who's playing. You know, players, especially at this level of competition, if they see the opportunity to take an advantage, they're going to do it. It doesn't matter which team it is. And people have certainly accused United of diving in the past. You know, we all know Kevon did. We all know Kevon Frater certainly took his fair share of dives when he was here.
No, he didn't dive. He did not dive. He simulated a fall.
Very, very true. But yeah, and I agree with this too. I mean, I agree with this point here. You did what you had to do. Kudos to your adjustments in the second half. Yeah, we look better in the second half than we did in the first by far. We look far better. In the first half, we looked very frantic in the first half, and we did not handle the pressure particularly well. We couldn't necessarily, and I was surprised at the halftime possession stats. Now, granted, a lot of our possession early in the match was in the defensive half, but it's one of those things where you make adjustments and you do the best that you can. And I was much happier with the play in the second half than the first. So Earl, we've kind of talked about this a little bit. I've seen the comments across social media and over in the Discord and places like that. What was your big negative from the game on Saturday?
I'll tell you what my big negative was.
Okay. Earl is, I'm not entirely sure what Earl's doing, but he'll give us his thing here in just a second. So Earl, one more time for the people that didn't hear you. What was the negative from the match?
Was watching the match like this the entire time.
I saw this mentioned everywhere, and I don't know what they did. It almost seemed like they can't. If you look at aerial pictures of the stadium, there's nowhere that there's a pole at that position. Like at that point in the field, and then yeah, anytime that the main cam pan right or left, there's a pole in the way, and then they would cut to that low shot from the side from the touch line, and it just it made it really hard to follow at times. But I agree with you. I mean, I thought the broadcasters were fantastic. I thought they did a great job. So kudos to them. I didn't catch their names at the start. I thought that was great, but
Yeah,
that to me as
those
well.
Messing guys were really good.
Yeah. Yeah, they were really good. They did a great job calling the match. Far better than guys like Duke Keith. So
they were a little homery at the end, but I was okay with their play call throughout the entire match.
Yeah, they did well. And obviously, I would think that's a learning experience for the broadcast crew out there, camera setup and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so this is what we were curious about. Custom broadcast tower they erected. No one thought that through. My guess is they thought the pan was gridiron football. Okay. Yeah, we said there was some speculation as to maybe there was a canopy over where the camera was, and that's where that pole was, but we couldn't figure it out from looking at views of the stadium. But no, I mean, all in all, I mean, for inaugural match, and certainly was better than listening to the Memphis 901 match the weekend prior when we're trying to play here at the lab. So all in all, it was a fun match to watch. United lucky to walk away with a point, if you ask us, and probably a lot of United fans as well. But yeah, kudos to Rhode Island. Great. That's going to be a fun team to watch throughout this season, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye on them as things go. I think if I remember right, all four of us had them in the playoffs in our preseason predictions. So it'll be a matter of where they finish this season, and we'll see what happens from there. But looking ahead, not quite so far as the playoffs. New Mexico United back in action on Saturday the 23rd with a 5:30 p.m. kickoff for those of us here in the Mountain Time Zone as they take on the Charleston Battery. Once again, a black and yellow bash here early in the season. This time, we'll call it the Lassane Cup. What do we call it now since Zach and Troy are both gone? Are we going to have a new name for this? I mean, I don't know what to think about this one yet, but maybe we'll come up with a name before Saturday. Who knows? Harry's probably right. 2 playoff teams, but you look at the standings right now. You look where New Mexico United is. You look where Charleston Battery are. Battery are winless. 2 ties on the season. With a 0-0 draw against North Carolina and a 1-1 draw against Oakland Roots so far. United obviously sitting on 4 points, a win and a draw on our season. And you look at Charleston Battery, they're a team that, kind of plays hard. It's every match against Charleston Battery has been interesting so far. Colorado State's pounding Virginia by 20, Mountain West basketball. Women's basketball, is that because the men's tournament is tonight?
That's the play-in rounds, I thought.
I thought that was tomorrow. I could be wrong, but Mountain West basketball is a lot of fun. Derail.
Yeah,
sorry, the men's playing
the first four in 21 points, 12:51 left in the second half.
Okay. Yeah, Mountain West is really good. We were talking about it the other day. In our group chat, I feel like the Mountain West got a little bit disrespected by the bracketologists.
I think UNM got shafted.
Yeah, that was bad. An 11.
The fact that you beat San Diego State and the fuckers over there, and you still wind up with 11. Like they got robbed. But we'll talk about bracket cast next week. Maybe we'll bring Harry on and see if he wants to talk about his bracket and what his mindset was. Because if you guys look at my bracket, you guys will think I'm drinking the fucking Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I can't wait. I haven't looked at it since I set mine earlier. I have to see what you guys all put in. Did Jacob ever get one in? I don't know if he did since he's on vacation this week, but all right. We look ahead to Charleston Battery. We'll get to bracket cast later. Battery went through a lot of change again this offseason. I feel like we're going to say that a lot this year, especially early on. Teams, there's a lot of change throughout the USL Championship this offseason. A lot of names going different places. And there really aren't a whole lot of names over on Battery that we're going to be terribly familiar with. Some folks may be familiar with players like Aaron Malloy or Jackson Conway, who used to play for Atlanta United too. He's over there now. But you look at, again, Battery is one of those teams you never quite know what you're going to get. I went back and I watched their 2 matches so far this season. And I have not been terribly impressed with them so far. Now, again, it's early and there's no telling what could happen between here and there. But I mean, Earl, have you gone back and watched any of Battery yet? What's your take on where they're at early in the year?
I did a lot of the Thought Mob today, and I'm not impressed with Charleston. I mean, this could be a trap game. I mean, yeah, it's early to call it a trap game, but it could be one where you're overlooking it, try to get the easy win. But in my opinion, Charleston doesn't really have any big names on their roster. I mean, even the names that you find familiar, like Jack Conway, um, even then, it's still Jack Conway. I mean, he hasn't done much in 5 years that he's been around. So I don't know. Um, my preview of this one is with United picking up the 1-1 draw. I think they come out firing and try to get an early jump on Charleston. Um, David, over the years, Battery has always been much better with a lot of U's at home. This is their home opener, so it will be tough. And it will be tough. I mean, every home opener is tough. Our home opener was tough for us getting acclimated playing in front of 11,000 plus fans. Um, I'm not worried about this one. I already have my prediction ready to go, so I'll let you talk about what you got going with Charleston.
Um, yeah, it's I watched Charleston play, and so far what they've done on the year is they've worked on maintaining possession, which in a lot of instances, is going to give you additional shots on goal. But you look at this team and you wonder, where are the goals going to come from? Again, a lot of turnover. I like Jackson Conway. I do. I think he's really talented. But is he the guy out there? I don't think he is. I think Markinich is going to be better. I think Gutierrez is a better shout, just in terms of chance creation. But and Aaron Molloy, obviously working out of the midfield, he is someone that we are familiar with. He's always played well against United. I think Molloy is extremely talented. But yeah, my biggest concern going into this one, Carlos, how you doing? Welcome on in. David with a fun fact: through 3 matches, we have only played in home openers. Entirely true. That's it's unusual that happens, but we'll certainly do that. My biggest concern for United is the fact that we have to go on back-to-back trips across the country. That's a lot of travel. Now, unless the team stayed on the East Coast, David, if you have any knowledge
That's
on
where
that.
I was thinking. My opinion is, or my assumption, which we all know what happens when you assume, is that they wouldn't fly back to Albuquerque and then fly back to Charleston. I assumed that they would stay East Coast and just fly down, take a bus down.
Yeah, there you go. That's because, see, the reason I brought that up is because even during the COVID year, the team was traveling back and forth. So that's why I kind of thought that the team traveled back after Rhode Island. Now, to be fair, players' families are here and all that, being home is a thing. But that's a lot of travel and not a lot of time, because the presser is tomorrow and the team is going to be leaving, I'm assuming, some point Thursday, if not early Friday, but I would my guess to be Thursday, so they can get to the East Coast and get settled and get some additional training in on Friday. That's my concern. And yes, we're getting a lot of our travel out of the way here early in the year, but I think Battery are beatable. I think this is still a winnable game, as long as the guys come out and have the energy that they need, and that explosiveness that we know is possible, particularly with how well we've seen us play through the midfield.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I mean, our midfield is probably one of the best in the league right now. I mean, it's there. We have the talent, we have the depth, we have the skill set on and off the ball to get open and get passes through. Um, I'm gonna stop beating around the bush and I'm gonna give my prediction.
Okay, let's do it.
Um, I think I have a fun fact too. I think that my prediction is going to be the highest score prediction this season so far,
Okay.
and I say 3-0.
3-0. Okay. That is an interesting scoreline. I don't think any of us have gone there. I think we've said 3-1. I think I know we've said 2-1. Yeah, Jacob said 3-1 a couple weeks ago. So I'm curious, where do we get the 3-0 from? Where do those goals come from?
I think Hersey pulls off 2,
Mhm.
and I think Marco picks up his first one of the year.
I can't wait to see Marco pick up his first goal. That's going to be a lot of fun. You know,
I would
Mike,
love to see Don Lottie come in,
provided he's
and
healthy.
pick up provided he's healthy. I would love to see Don Lottie come in and play, but I'm not counting on it
Mhm.
because you can't count your chickens before they hatch. So I'm going to say Hursty picks up 2 and Micheleto picks up the third.
Yeah, not bad shouts. I mean, when you look at the run of play and what United does in order to pick those up, I mean, obviously Coach Quill wants the team to play technically on the ball. Play, show the skill on the ball, make guys miss, dribble past some guys. Do you think that come out a bit more settled than we did against Rhode Island? Now that we've again, match 3, guys are still getting settled, but at the same time, we saw how well we played, 2 weeks ago at the lab. I mean, do you see us changing tactics any at all? Maybe go more of a bit long ball to break that pressure a bit, or do you think if Charleston comes out with that, because obviously we didn't handle it well to begin with against Rhode Island, do we go long ball a bit to try to break it and loosen things up a bit, or do you think we stick with what we've been doing so far?
I think we'll go back to what we did week 1 home match here. And dissect the pitch. Strategically place the ball in spots that you're going to get open versus spots where you are open and let the defense come to you. I think you think ahead on what Charleston's doing and be proactive and not reactive.
Mhm.
Um, and yes, Mudef, I do think Hursty gets his first goals on the road. I would love to see him get his first hat trick on the road, but I'll take 2. But yeah, so I think we come out. I think the first 10 minutes or so we're gonna be a little bit rattled, a little bit sloppy football per se. But I think we settle down and we essentially do what we did to Pittsburgh with more goals.
I could see it, and a lot of it is going to depend on how we come out, and we're probably gonna say this a lot this year, but we're going to have to control the midfield. We have to play better through the midfield than we did, I'd say, the first 45, 50 minutes of the match against Rhode Island. You saw how well things worked for us when we did that 2 weeks ago, and I think that's where everything is going to have to start from. We can't be so focused on trying to break from the back, and because we did get caught at the back a bit and we saw us getting to a little bit of trouble against Rhode Island, but we have to get the ball forward, give guys like Micheleto and Nikki and Jacobo guys, give them opportunities to get that ball forward and play the ball in for Hurst and break that back line of Charleston. And if we can do that, I think we're in a really good position to pick up a win. And I'm going to say 2-0 on the road for United. I don't think Battery is as good as they may end up being later in the year. I think they have a lot of growing to do, and I think this is a great opportunity for us to pick up another early win on the season. All
Who
right,
do you
Earl, I
have
know you're.
scoring?
Who do I have scoring? Marco and Dayon. I want to see Dayon get some confidence going. I think Hursty is there in terms of confidence, but I want to see Dayon hit one. I think I think he went back and looked at the table on Saturday and said, man, if I had just taken that shot instead of, trying to take that extra touch. And I think, I think Dayon could, and not that he's not confident, but I think that would be a huge thing for him to get a goal and see him get off the mark. Cause I love Dayon. I think he's extremely talented. And I think he can be someone to help spell off the side of the area for Hersey and open up some chances for him throughout the season. So that's where I'm at with it. I think that's what's going to happen this weekend. There's our predictions. Earl, I know you're up against it. I know you've got a kid to get to bed. So any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I mean, we've said it before. This season's going to be great, even though we hit some rough patches like a 1-1 draw in a hostile territory with Rhode Island. The sky is not falling.
It is not.
It's not like we played sloppy soccer. It's not like we made terrible mistakes. We played a really good team at a really loud place, really long distance travel, and a really good fan base. I mean, we had Matt on last week, and it was obvious that Rhode Island fans are going to be something else. I am interested to see what Matt did with the chili sauces that he had. If he's put him in sopapillas or what he's done there. That's my question. So, Matt, you got some answers.
There you go. And quickly before we get out of here, if you're done watching us, pop on over to and find the U.S. Open Cup over on YouTube or on the U.S. Soccer website. Austin FC2 and Foro SC are going to extra time. They are going to have ended 1-1 at the end of regulation, and in the 28th minute of the final match of the night, Portland Timbers 2 is up 1-0 on El Farolito. That is in the 31st minute there, and then there are a handful of matches tomorrow night as well. First match is tomorrow, kickoff at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time. First up, Richmond Kickers and Christos FC, followed closely by Asheville City and One Knoxville. So go check those out. Give some Open Cup love to everyone over in the chat tonight, and to the new commenter over on X, which is very surprising. That's a new one for us. Thank you guys all so much for being here. We do appreciate the support each and every week here live Tuesday nights on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Be sure to shoot us a follow. Be sure to follow us on the podcast feeds as well. We're on all major podcast platforms. If we are not on your podcast platform of choice, please let me know. And we will make sure that we get onto whatever podcast carrier that you use. We would love to hear from you guys what we're throughout the season as we're here live. Questions, comments throughout each and every show. We can't wait until this Saturday. Thank you all for being here. Jacob, be careful on your travels. We'll see you next week. Thank you again to everyone. And until next time, Somos Unidos.